Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. Well, a lot of what was said there in terms of the empty treasury, the challenge they face, what they've seen with the past administration. That's where we start off today. We're joined by Professor Sylvester Monye, who is the former SA to President Jonathan on performance evaluation and monitoring. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you very much, Chamberlain.
Well, this government has been speaking about what they met a lot lately, and then we even see in the dailies today how they say, look, the rot that they met by the previous administration which he served in is just too much for them to clear, and so much, lots of money frittered away which they say they would trace. Did they run the country aground while you served in? What happened?
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me to this program, but let me say something that is very fundamental. The language of opposition is completely different from the language of government. In government, anything you say has fundamental implications. I mean, over the years, the parties that came together to form APC have been excellent in being opposition party, publicity, propaganda, call it whatever. They have been very effective, and they were successful in prosecuting the last campaign to the point of winning the election. Now they are in government. Whatever they say, the language must change to language of government. When you say certain fundamental things like empty treasury, the country is broke, the economy was run aground.
Isn't that the truth?
And so on and so forth. You are creating bigger problem for yourself, because in my own position, from where I stand, it is not true.
Which one is not true? That they met empty treasury?
Well, it's not issue of meeting empty treasury. The fundamental question is, was there supposed to be anything in the treasury? That's the fundamental thing. Our constitution, or before we can even begin to talk about empty treasury or not, we need to look at the provisions of the constitution. The constitution says that any money that is earned from oil sales, tax, customs collection, duty collections, must go into federation account. And once it goes in, it must be shared according to the subsisting revenue sharing formula as provided in the constitution.
So it can't be saved up.
No, I'm coming. That's what it says. Now, we had a very visionary leader, strong man, a nationalist in the president of Obasanjo when he was president. He said, no, this is wrong. Whether it's in the constitution or not, we must put something aside for the rainy day. That was the origin of the excess crude account. The excess crude account accumulates from the difference between what is earned and the benchmark price as determined by federal government. So anything in excess of the benchmark price goes into savings. But the governors have said, no, it is an illegality because the constitution says you cannot save. And I'm sure you are aware, the governors have taken federal government to court. They are in Supreme Court as we speak. It has not even been decided whether that action is illegal or not illegal. So we, I'm told, currently have about $2.9 or $2.09 billion in that savings. It is that $2.09 billion that people are fighting to say we will not have that savings. So as small as that savings is, they want it shared.
Okay.
So how can you be talking about empty treasury when there is a court case saying that that savings, that little one you have, must be shared by the same people who are asking you, okay, that is empty?
Let me follow up on that. Now, if you, as you said, what the law, the provisions of the law concerning the revenue, share that to the states, But the federal government gets its own share.
Yes.
Larger than that of the state.
Yes.
So I'm not sure that they're talking about the one that the state ought to get.
Yes.
I think it's the one that the federal government itself gets.
That they should have.
No, that the president is talking about, that they met the treasury. So if the federal government gets its own share of the allocation, does it mean that there will be nothing left whatsoever?
All right. Let me tell you that when you do budget, the budget is an estimate of what you are going to get and a projection of how you are spending that thing. So there's a budget that says this year X amount of money is coming in, and if it comes in, this is what we'll do with it. That's the meaning of budget. Now, federal government receive their own component. They use it for what the National Assembly approved for them to use the money on. So that is budget. But way in excess of that, you recall that some years back, the President Buhari, no, sorry, not Buhari, President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, cum President Jonathan, forced the governors to start sovereign wealth fund, and they commenced that savings or investment with $1 billion. Again, that investment is also being challenged. But upon that, federal government has been able to save additional $500 million on top of that $1 billion. So in the kitty, we have in excess of $1.5 billion savings. $1 billion belongs to the 3 tiers of government. $500 million belongs to federal government alone. So federal government has its own bit.
Okay. So
everybody is doing their own bit. That is one. Two, I have not been told that federal government is owing salary.
But there have been several comments.
I've not been told.
They did not borrow to pay salaries? I mean, while you served the Jonathan administration?
I am not aware the federal government is owing salary.
No, sorry. Oh. The federal government is not owing salaries. By what you're saying, that you're not aware. Did the federal government borrow to ensure that salaries are not owed?
You know, when you do budget, you do either balanced budget or deficit budget. Deficit budget means you are going to spend more than what you have, what you are going to receive. That's the meaning of deficit budget. It means you foresaw in your planning that what you get will not be enough to meet what you want to spend. Now, if you borrow money to meet your obligation, didn't you foresee it? Was it not approved by National Assembly? Okay. So when people say you borrow, was it not planned for? Was it extra budgetary borrowing or what? I don't understand.
Professor Monye, let's see if we can understand exactly what the president meant when he said they met an empty treasury. Can you please explain what that means?
I have no idea what he meant. You know, by our constitution, every money that comes in is shared. For example, the revenue that the country accrued from oil sales, customs receipts, as well as taxation in May was just shared on the 24th of June. 409 billion. What that means is that after sharing, the treasury is empty. This administration could jolly well say, because we don't want the treasury to be empty, we want to beef up our savings, we will share. But they shared.
Making it empty again.
Making it empty again.
And you say they're doing all of this in accordance with the laws.
Well, that's what the Constitution says. That's what the governors are challenging in the Supreme Court. Why should you say at all?
If we were to take this forward, I also recall when we were talking about the we here, the Nigerian nation was talking about the sovereign wealth fund, and we thought that the National Assembly was going to help and make that pretty much legal in our system for us to have a savings somewhere. And that never came. Are you looking to this 8th Assembly doing that for the nation?
Well, I'm very optimistic that we'll have patriotic Nigerians in the National Assembly.
Because you're also an economist. How can anyone move on, even as an individual, let alone a nation, without having a savings?
Well, you know, I started by saying that we need fundamental reform of our constitution. And I'm optimistic that the members of National Assembly we have today are patriotic Nigerians who will see this thing from a nationalistic standpoint. It's not about politics. I think we've passed, once election was won and lost, we need politics. Let's face the issue of the economy and management of the economy. We need to be realistic and stop talking politics. What we need to do is first make it compulsory to put some money aside. I must commend former Governor Amechi of Rivers State. I believe they are the only state, I'm not sure of another state, that has a law that compels the government to save 5% of their receipt from Federation account. Only Rivers State that I know that has that law that says whatever you receive from Federation account, you must save 5% of that. It's only Governor Amechi that did that. So he must be commended for that kind of fiscal responsibility. Now, we need to encourage other states to do similar things.
So since you mentioned River State, you're saving 5% of whatever comes in from the allocation.
Yeah.
But River State is owing 2 months' salary.
Now,
how does
that is what the law says. I'm not talking about the operation of the law, but I know there is a law in River State that says they save 5%. Now, when you save money, it doesn't mean you can't go to the bank to take the money. But the law says you must save. So I don't want to go, I don't know the state of finance of River State to comment on whether they are borrowing money or not borrowing money. But certainly, I know there's a law that says they should save 5%.